At the end of Season 4, Star Trek The Next Generation was well on its way, blazing its own trail into the hearts of the majority of fandom. But what was the story behind the 5th season of the show? Well, today we'll find out. Hello and welcome to Backtrek, a web series that focuses on the background information on any given topic in Star Trek. In this, the continuation of our look into Star Trek's history, we'll be taking a look at the making of Season 5 of Star Trek The Next Generation, and all the behind-the-scenes information on the making of this cult classic phenomenon. I hope you enjoy. Fans of this channel, and particularly fans of the historical overview series, have been chomping at the bit for its continuation. Regularly, I'd get fans asking when the next part was coming out, and why it was taking so long. So before we start, I'd just like to take a moment to explain the delay in releasing these videos. Basically, it comes down to time versus sources. In order to be as factually correct as possible, a great amount of research has to be done for each of these episodes. For me to consider something as fact, it needs to be corroborated by at least 3 separate sources. And what does that mean? Well, it means a lot of reading and discussions with those that were involved in the show. And well, that takes time. I'm not a full-time YouTuber. I have a real life and a real job, and this is just a hobby for me. But I try as hard as I can to satisfy all you good trinaries. So I hope you'll understand. Everyone had high expectation for Star Trek The Next Generation's 5th season. With the breakthrough into the great storytelling of the 3rd season, along with a solid development of its own personality in the 4th season, virtually everyone was looking forward to Season 5. Many little things would be changed for the 5th season, which coincided with the 25th anniversary of the franchise as a whole. And development and eventually production would begin on a new Star Trek series that would come to be known as Deep Space Nine. The Next Generation theme credits would get a warp effect added to them for this season and this season only. Captain Jean-Luc Picard would also get his own specialized uniform, which would be introduced in the episode Darmok. Season 5 would also include the first 2-part episode done mid-season for TNG, which itself would include one of the biggest icons in Trek's history, Leonard Nimoy reprising his role as Spock for the show. But perhaps the biggest and saddest change for Star Trek and fandom as a whole was the loss of Star Trek's creator, Gene Roddenberry. Eugene Gene Wesley Roddenberry was born on August 19, 1921, in El Paso, Texas. And regardless of how you might feel about the man personally, the truth is he did invent the concept of Star Trek, and without him, neither you nor I would be here to argue and debate the finer points of canon, so we all owe him for that. Having already suffered a series of minor strokes over the 1980s, the worst of which was in September 1989, which had left him incapacitated in a wheelchair, basically ending his operational involvement with the show, he would still be informed and have meetings with the writers of TNG's Powers That Be, though his involvement would grow less and less as time went on. On June 6, 1991, shortly before celebrating the 100th episode of Star Trek The Next Generation, Gene would be honored by Paramount by having the Producers Building, which itself had been formerly a part of Desilu Studios, renamed the Gene Roddenberry Building. A large ceremony was held by then Paramount President Mel Harris, with William Shatner and Patrick Stewart both making speeches in Roddenberry's honor. Gene was very touched by the experience. Star Trek VI: The Undiscovered Country was in its final stages of completion, and so on October 22, 1991, Roddenberry was treated to an advanced screening of the almost finished movie. As stated in my Star Trek VI video, Gene gave the feature film a huge smile and a resounding thumbs up. Everyone was happy. But Gene was Gene right up until the end. Once back in his office, Gene immediately instructed Leonard Maizlish, his lawyer, to start legal actions against Leonard Nimoy and Nicholas Meyer in order to have 15 minutes of the more militaristic aspects cut from the movie. These proceedings, however, would never take place. 2 days later, Gene Roddenberry passed away, succumbing to a cardiac arrest. Dawn Roddenberry, one of Gene's daughters from his first marriage, would attempt to sue her stepmother, Majel Barrett Roddenberry, for mismanaging her father's affairs in his last days, but ultimately withdrew the suit the day before it was set to go to court, as again, Gene being Gene, had specifically stipulated in his will that if anyone contested it, that person would lose their inheritance. The sad news of Roddenberry's passing hit the set of TNG during the filming of the episode Hero Worship, and to honor the great bird of the galaxy, the 2-part episode Unification would be dedicated to Gene, and Gene would continue to appear as executive producer until the end of Season 5. And as a final honor for the man, a lipstick-sized capsule of his ashes were sent aboard the Space Shuttle Columbia on October 22, 1992, returning Gene to the stars from whence we all came. With Gene gone, Rick Berman would now have a free hand with Star Trek The Next Generation and the upcoming series Deep Space Nine. To mark the 25th anniversary of Star Trek, along with the upcoming release of Star Trek VI The Undiscovered Country, Leonard Nimoy would finally agree to cross over into the TNG times. The 2-part episode in actuality didn't feature much of Nimoy, yet somehow both episodes seemed to feature him a lot. The interactions between Data and Spock are among some of the best ever written for Star Trek. Nimoy had always been hesitant to appear on TNG. In fact, many stories had been proposed for the return of Spock, but either due to outside events leading Nimoy to be completely unavailable, or Nimoy himself not liking the proposed story ideas, they simply never happened. But in 1991, it was different. Nimoy explains, "I thought that if we could go and do a TNG episode in which we hinted at the beginnings of a crossover between the original series and the Next Generation through the Spock character, and through the backstory of the Spock character, it would be helpful to both TNG and my upcoming movie Star Trek VI. I thought it would be interesting for the fans to see the connections between the two stories. It just seemed to me that it finally made sense for me to appear at that time." Unification would also see the death of the character of Sarek, Spock's legendary father, played by Mark Leonard. Leonard recalls, "They only sent me part of the script. I read it and thought, well, I'm only in one scene, but it's a good scene, a bit like King Lear, so I did it. I only realized that my character had in fact died when first watching the episode at a convention. I thought that the death bit was a bit chintzy and disrespectful of the character. However, when talking to James Doohan about it, he told me that as my death occurred off screen, there was always a possibility for it to be later reversed. That gave me some comfort, but of course, that never happened." A little bit of Star Trek trivia for you all is that Fran Bennett was scheduled to reprise her role of Fleet Admiral Shante in the opening sequence of Unification Part 1. But, with no reason given, Bennett would be replaced by Karen Hensel, playing Admiral Brackett. The episode Ensign Ro would also see the character of Ro Laren, played by Michelle Forbes, join the crew as a Bajoran torn between Starfleet and her own heritage. Forbes has always been quite a mystery to me. She seems to be an actress who only acts on her own terms. She would be offered main cast status for TNG and ultimately turn it down, preferring the credit of guest star. When Deep Space Nine was beginning its production, she would again be offered a main cast status, the role of Sisko's first officer. And once again she would turn it down, citing she declined because she did not want to be a regular on a TV show at that time. Nana Visitor's role of Major Kira Nerys was then created as her replacement. Forbes was then also offered a chance to return to Star Trek for Star Trek Voyager, given her now connection to the Maquis in Season 7 of The Next Generation, but again she turned it down. I liked the character of Ensign Ro, and although I'm glad they sort of tied up her loose ends in Season 7, I'm truly disheartened that Forbes didn't allow herself to grow in the role and allow fandom to see her journey to becoming an amazing Starfleet officer. I believe it was truly a missed opportunity for the actress. Season 5 would be jam-packed full of wonderfully exciting episodes. I mean, who can forget Troy taking command in Disaster, or the mysterious new First Officer, Commander Kieran McDuff, from Conundrum? Cause and Effect would be an intricately woven tale that would keep fandom on the edge of its seat. And The Inner Light would become one of the most influential episodes for Picard's storyline, but also see fandom falling completely in love with the good captain once again. But with Berman now in fully undisputed control of the series and the franchise as a whole, he would start to pull back from the edgy story ideas he had once pushed for against Roddenberry, which would eventually lead to a collapse of the entire Star Trek franchise. But when we next return to this historical overview, we'll be taking a look at the making of Star Trek Deep Space Nine, and all the drama that surrounded the black sheep of the Star Trek family. Hope to see you then. Thank you for watching today's episode of Backtrek. What do you think of Season 5 of Star Trek The Next Generation? How do you see Gene Roddenberry? Well, leave your comments in the section below. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel, hitting that little bell icon so you won't miss a single video we release. Want to help the channel celebrate its own anniversary? Then consider becoming a channel patron. The link to our Patreon account is in the description below. Thanks again for watching. Live long and prosper.